sitting in the chair. He certainly would have been willing to have a lot of people sit in the chair had he thought that Americans would tolerate that. And who knows, maybe he did. He was a kind of private guy. The second important licensing event was in California. And California was set up by Miriam Lee, something that the Anglo world does not acknowledge very well at all. And they didn't know Ting, they were afraid of him as he sang opera, but Miriam Lee's English was quite good. She was a religious person from Singapore and had been a midwife, I think, and so she comes over in the late 30s, something like that. And she wants to know, and there are a lot of Chinese immigrants that do that. If you've heard the NCCA films, you've heard the sort of baritone voice of Dr. Wu. They have narrating a lot of them. His father looked for a good place, came on the boat, right, or the airplane or whatever. He decided, well, I'm going to open a laundry in Greenwich, Connecticut, because they have good schools. All 4 kids went to Ivy League schools and got PhDs. That's a good job. That's a skill that immigrants who are intentionally trying to do something sometimes do. Anyway, Miriam Lee looks around for a comparable place to Greenwich, Connecticut, where you want spouses of people in a medical school is basically what you want. And so she got in Palo Alto. Set up a program that was against the law, what she was doing in Palo Alto. Miriam Lee always wore red. She works fast. She would have lots of people in the same room. She put little curtains hanging from the ceiling behind them, but again, that was just partly because she mostly treated them on their belly and their back, mostly all. And she would just go from 6 in the morning until she got tired. It's about 10, 12 hours later, treating as many people as possible. There are different, if you're breaking the law, there are 2 systems. 1, you don't do much, and 2, you do a lot. And she did a lot. So they arrested her or something, and then the patients made a big complaint. Oh, you can do acupuncture under a doctor's supervisor. Well, she'd had medical training before, and she said, no, I can diagnose these things better than they can. So she kept records, and she diagnosed a number of cancer patients before the medical school did, and all sorts of different things. When people are truly sick, the post-diagnosis is much easier than when they're not, really. So she kept all these records, and they had a liberal governor, what's his name, Brown, the younger Brown, and so she brought them all up and created the independent licensing law that you all enjoy. None of them could ever have done that well. None of them. I knew them. It's ridiculous. They never would have thought to do that well. The fact that you have independent licensing has to do with the fact that Miriam Lee had her own lobbyist. She didn't use the regular association, Chinese Association lobbyist, and she knew what she was doing from the minute she got here. Not to acknowledge that is not a proud thing for American people. They never wanted to teach in school. Her English isn't good. Her English is just fine. And she had students. When I visited her, she would have students. She tended to have all female students. And they all looked like they hated it. They sat there in a sort of gossip circle, and Miriam would run around. And Miriam spent about a month with us in New York. and she just loved it. She went around and did all the treatments. Every day she told me, how do you find your staff? How do you get such good staff? And our staff wasn't really used to people who came in with that kind of energy, but she got along with all of them just fine. And our staff indeed had a far different competence than the people who went to San Francisco School or whatever she was affiliated with. And you asked Miriam Lee what theory she was using. And she would do a little magic square or something. You have to have some theory. What God do you believe? A lot of Hindu people just use the word God because they individualize it, but somebody wants it written down. That God, that, and so she's had that theory. She picked up the theory. Now she since has had a couple books written, and I'm sure there's some patched up theory associated with it. The other problem that Miriam had was that she was Christian, and she would put things from the Bible on the ceiling. And that bothered the students a great deal. And just the way she worked with people, she didn't talk with people a lot. And I remember when she visited our clinic, and I often have a lot of administrative duties and all that. So one day she said, I want to see you do a treatment. See if you know what you're doing. So she said that in a nice way. And so I do a lot of treatments when people are laying on their belly, as she does. And so I started in, I said, I don't always put the needles where the points are on the charts. She looks like that. And so and she saw me locate 2 or 3 points. And she said, you're fine. That's it. We've had, incidentally, several people come to the South Bronx that wonder, do these people, they don't look like they know acupuncture. How do I know that they know acupuncture? And there are 2 methods they use. First of all, they never look at point location. I've never seen an intelligent, capable acupuncturist care about point location. Never. In any continent or any place. Anybody really measuring sun, unless they're paid to measure sun, never. There are 2 methods. Generally, the female doctor will ask you to treat her and deliberately choose a point or a problem where there's not an obvious location of the point. Remember, my friend used to ask people to do kidney 6, and you have to sort of choose where the easygoing part is, or Miriam just asked me to do an ear point just to see if. And what they're looking for is, do they feel the chi when you put the needle in? Now the male doctors, mostly generalization, will look at, you do the treatment, they'll be about 7 feet away, and just watch, and he's fine. And they mean it. This is their career, they're not being flippant saying he's fine or not, he's fine. And what you have, you've heard about the term Tai Chi, I guess, however you pronounce it. There is what you call teacher's Tai Chi, which is a very convenient thing. It means that you can watch a person 15 feet away or 30 feet away if you can see it well, and concentrate on it, and when they put the needle on, you can feel the flash of energy in your hand. This is relatively easy to teach. It's not a big problem. You can teach people in an audience. You'd have audiences in Nebraska, for instance. You can teach people to do teacher's Tai Chi in about 20 minutes. And they're not very hip in Nebraska. That's where my family's from. But that's what we did. It's